here's a second round pick for you to take him off our hands, and we're actually not going to do anything to follow. Like, I don't care what move you had lined up, that was still going to be the wrong decision, right? And then you see the Sharks get a first rounder, and rightfully so, because he was so good in San Jose all year, and he was so good offensively. The difference between San Jose and Edmonton is he's obviously in a different situation, has more talented players around him, but the other part of it is that he's not going to get those same minutes, right? When Ekholm was hurt, maybe, sure, but he's not going to get power play one in Edmonton, and he's not going to get, top deployments either, and that's fine, right? Like, if you have someone that could be a first pair defenseman on a bad team, and on your team he's a third pair defenseman, like, you're doing something right. Like, your depth is deep enough for that to happen. It's like the same with Brad Marchand, right? In Boston, he's a top line guy. In Florida, he's a third line guy. Look at him cook.
Yeah, what a difference.
Slotted perfectly.
Well, and that's why you worry about signing Bennett, Marchand to some of these big numbers, because if they don't have that protection, are they going to be that valuable? We've heard people say numbers like $12 million for Sam Bennett. I don't know where you sit on that, Shayna, but what is his value going to be when this season, this Conn Smythe run is over?
I don't think we're even going to have this conversation because I don't think he's leaving Florida, right? Wow. He's going to sign a team-friendly deal, and everyone's going to go, oh, it's the taxes, and I'm going to lose my mind.
Not everybody, that's me.
No. I get it. I think it's more the lifestyle, the organization, the position you are with your chances to win. I think as a player, you look at it, if I'm in Sam Bennett's position, it's, I could get $12 million to go play on the Ducks, or Florida, where I know management will do everything and anything to win, right? And have me be a part of that winning situation. I'm going to go there, be in the sun, have a family there, be by the beach. And, sure, the extra money is great and wonderful, but you're taking a pay cut for more reasons than just the taxes, right? But I know everyone's talking about him like 12 million, 11 million. That's great and wonderful. If he were to hit the market, he's going to get a ton because he's a playoff player. He has skill, he has grit, he has bite, he has everything and more. And the center market is absolutely horrible. So all of that puts him in this perfect position to cash in. I just don't think it's happening.
Yeah, considering the what's out there, how good he's been in the playoffs. Like, this is one of the greatest contract years in sports history.
Maybe.
Like, truly. Like you look back, I'm sure you could come up with a bunch of examples of ones, but just for all the stuff that you laid out there with the lack of players available, what teams
everyone has cap space at the same time.
Like, the cap's going up, what everyone's sort of looking for the playoff-y type guy, having, the NHL record in road goals in a playoff run. I'm not sure you could ever have a better contract here than Sam Bennett's having. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, we see this all the time, right? Like, people want players. It's so interesting to me because you look at, like, the Peter DeBoer of it, right? And everyone's going to talk about his game 7 record and that he goes to the conference finals all the time, but it doesn't matter, I guess, to anybody in the narratives that he doesn't have rings. But for players, you get paid if you have rings. You have to be good in the playoffs and you have to have a ring. And Sam Bennett has both of them. Yeah. So add that to the entire situation you outlined, and yeah, it's a perfect storm for him.
Rich. Very rich, man.
Are we good to turn?
Well, I was just wondering, where were you going to go?
No, go ahead.
I was just asking about Bobrovsky, where if I'm an Oilers fan, I'm very happy to be 2-2 after the way that game started, and the way he's looked would give me a little bit of hope. But I also know that his whole thing is that he can just tighten up at the drop of that. Like, for no reason, he just turns into an unbelievable, unbeatable force after feeling like he is a complete sieve and it's totally unquantifiable. But if I was a Oilers fan, that's what would be worrying me going into these next couple games, that he hasn't really stole one yet, and he always feels like he steals one in these series, and there's 3 left, and you need to win 2 of them. So that's, for me, like, I know he hasn't been great, but I'd be a little bit worried if I'm an Oilers fan that he's going to really lock in one of these.
Oh, absolutely. And look back to game 3, that first period, like, the Oilers had some chances there, and Bobrovsky was the difference. I thought he was incredible, and he's a reason why the Panthers were in the position that they were to start running away with the score. Like, it's different seeing, you're not going to calculate a stolen win when it's, a 6-1 game, because then you need a GSAX that's over 5. You're not getting that, so it's a little bit tougher. But I think he gives his team a chance to win on most nights. I would expect him to keep doing that moving forward. And, it's always interesting as series go deeper. I think it's going to be more challenging to steal a win because, yes, he's studying the shooters, their tendencies, and I'm sure they've done a ton of scouting. Plus, he has last year's experience behind him. And, you just have to play the hand that you're being dealt. But on the other hand, it's a little bit different from saying, I'm going to scout 12 forward, 6 defensemen as Sergei Bobrovsky to try to assume what everybody's going to do, especially when one of those players is Connor McDavid and he's going to do whatever he wants and more, versus the entire Oilers team scouting him and his tendencies, right? You see 2 goals last night. The first 2 goals for the Oilers beat him up high, and they could go, okay, maybe that's a weakness for us to exploit, right? And there's a long history of Sergei Bobrovsky being hot and cold in the playoffs. So there's all of that information you can try to work with. That being said, as hard as it's going to be for him to steal a game later in the series, I won't be surprised if we get 1 or 2 low scoring ones, because everyone seems to tighten up at that point, right? Like everyone's holding their stick a little tighter if it's game 6, game 7. But then again, we also saw what the Panthers did in game 7 in round 2.
That's what I was just going to say. I was like, it's going to be like, oh, you don't see a lot of high scoring games. Oh, wait.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say that because the Leafs literally gave up an unconverted touchdown to them in the game 7 they played in round 2. So, yeah.
What's interesting is you mentioned like Bob tends to steal a game somewhere along the way, but we also really haven't had the Connor McDavid game yet. Maybe, I don't know if you think we have.
I mean, he's had, what did he have, 3 assists?
Yeah, like, he's been very good. He's been very good, but it still feels like he is someone who could have a night looming too. Last one on this series before we'll ask you a quick UFA question or two. Evander Kane last night, penalties, gets benched for a chunk of period, dropped down to the 4th line. He feels like a guy they need. There's someone to play and be at his best. What are your thoughts on the way he's played and these guys who have to try to walk this Sam Bennett line but can't quite do it as well as Sam Bennett?
Yeah, he is not the guy to do it. He never has been, and I'm not sure he's ever going to be at this point. It's like, can you teach an old dog new tricks? And I'm not sure he has the tricks to be a disciplined player, right? I feel like that's a major problem. He was rightfully dropped to the 4th line. So if that's not the wake-up call, I don't know what will be, because you can't afford to put him out there, especially in Draisaitl's minutes, right? Like you're playing with one of the guys you need to just cook in the offensive zone. Look at what he does last night when, after game 3, he gets no shot attempts, and last night he has the game-winning goal to tie up the series. You don't want it that you're going, okay, they're in the offensive zone, and you have no idea what's going to happen. You don't have that, trustworthy foundation. So it's going to be really interesting to see how he can find that line that I feel like he's struggled with for some time. If he can, that's a huge deal for the Oilers, especially with Zach Hyman hurt, right? If Zach Hyman was healthy, I don't think this conversation would matter as much, because you go, well, that could make up for Ryan Nugent-Hopkins not being 100%, and then you could throw Perry or Brown in there and Podkolzin and make it all work. But without Hyman, you need guys to play in the top 6. And I know there were some question marks about someone like Podkolzin playing in the top 6 after he had a rough game 3, but you see why he did, right? Like, he can be a dog without, you watch him and you're like, he's a dog out there. That's what everyone needs in the playoffs, right? Like, he works so hard every shift. So you have that if you're the Oilers. You could throw him in the top 6 and see he's going to rebound. Kane didn't after a bad game 3. I don't know how much leeway you give him in game 5. If he takes a single offensive zone penalty or a single first period penalty, I don't know how you give him minutes.
Yeah, it's scary.
Yeah.
Scary as a coach, especially with that Florida power play.
It's basically why Kadri got traded from here. You had a guy you just felt like you couldn't trust, and I know that's regrettable in a bad